Me training in the US, going to school in the US, and seeing some of the resources that the US athletes will have at their disposal, I could see why other countries are better than us in the sport, because from chiropractors to massage therapists to coaching to technology, to recovery, to nutritionists, you name it, they have it at their disposal. It's not as easy for us, but also bigger countries may have more access to certain resources. But I still think, in a nutshell, there's always better that could be done. And I think our biggest factor of where we lose out on a lot of athletes, specifically in the transition from under 20 to the senior level, is that if they don't get a professional contract from someone or doesn't get the opportunity to, maybe go to a professional camp, they're lost. They come back to Trinidad and Tobago. They may run for a year or two, and after that they will realize I'm spending more money than I'm actually earning, or I'm in a hole. And at that point, you have to earn, you have to live. You're an adult. Your parent, you might be living with your parents. Your parents might say, well, you know what? You need to start to pay some bills. You can't be just running, anymore. And at that point, you'll have to stop track and field. And basically, that's where we lose our athletes. There isn't a stable ecosystem to facilitate sport, and I think that is one of the biggest problems why we fall short, why we lose a lot of athletes. And it's, once this problem isn't solved, there's gonna be less and less Trinidad and Tobago athletes represented out there, because the standards have gotten faster. The 100 has went from, I want to believe, 10.15 to 10 flat. The 200 from 20.4 to 2016. 400 from 45 mid to 44.85. So the standards have gotten higher, but we have been in the same system. So unless something starts to change, there's going to be less of us competing.
Let's take it back to last year in Paris. Now, if anybody tell me that a man run 43.78, was it? If anybody told me that a man run 43.78 and was not on the podium, I would not believe them. That was a national record last year. Bro, how does one run 43.78 and not be on the podium? How was that? How did you accept that race?
I honestly, it took me a few weeks to accept it. It went in phases. Initially crossing the line, knowing that I just missed out on a medal, I saw the time. I was like, okay, I'm finally able to, break the 44-second barrier, and it was one thing that I wanted to do for a while, because I feel like for years we would have heard talks of, Jury maybe has the capability to, dip under 44 seconds or has some range in the 400 meters, and I was just grateful to God for being able to showcase, that talent. But crossing the line and seeing it, it was just a mixture of emotions. I was happy, I was sad, I was numb. All in all, by the time I got to the warm-up track and cool down, I was just really thankful. But I just remember people congratulating me and being proud of me, and at that point I was numb, and I was numb for like maybe about 2 weeks. Numb in the sense that someone would tell me congratulations and I just didn't know how to process that. I didn't know how to feel about it. I wasn't mad, I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy. Like, I just had no feeling towards it. And I had to talk to my sports psychologist, Lisa Mohan Watts, and I just told her that, I was having problems processing how to feel about this. I didn't want to be ungrateful to God, because it was a great achievement. It just wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be. I wanted to be able to run that fast and have something tangible to show for it. And, just falling short, but especially knowing that was the best race I could have executed. I asked my body for everything and it gave me everything. But everything wasn't good enough for a medal. So it was just a hard pill to swallow, but at the same time, in retrospect, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and I truly believe, what is to be is to be. I trust in God, and I don't want to be an ungrateful servant, So I'm still very thankful for the moment and what I was able to achieve.
Let's speak about the expectancy. The expectancy, of course, this World Championships, we're expecting yourself, Leah Bertrand and Keishon Walker, so far the athletes that have made the qualifying standard for the World Championships. But when you mention the word track, in Trinidad and Tobago right now, Jerome Richards is that household name. A population of 1.3 or 1.4 million persons, the expectancy of carrying that responsibility, the real track and field fan would understand what that means and probably what it takes. But for the neutral who just looks on every 4 years or every 2 years, that expectancy is still there for you to win every time you go on the field, right? And if you don't win, you don't medal, bro, you know Trinidadians. It's like, waste of time, or why I waste my time? How do you deal with the expectancy, carrying that responsibility of knowing that Trinidad and Tobago, you're the main person right now, where if it's not Jerome, we have Leah, and we expect great things from her, but the expectancy is that Jerome Richards is going to medal. How are you dealing with that expectancy?
Dealing with the expectancy, honestly, I don't take it with any pressure, honestly, you know. I know my core support group, my wife, my daughter, my mom, my sister, my brother, my dad, my intimate family, my aunties, my uncles, my cousins. These are the people that know me intimately, that would know how my training is going, would know how I'm feeling. To the regular public that support me, I really appreciate it, but at the same time, they don't know intimately what's going on in my life. You know, so I know that regardless if I do well or if I don't do well, my intimate circle love me regardless of what I do. You know, just by the grace of God and the peace of God, I know that, you know, even though if I do well, if I don't do well, I'm not defined by just an athlete. I'm greater than just an athlete, you know. So that in itself gives me a sense of peace. And even though, quote unquote, I would be the one to get a medal, and that might be to some a weight of pressure, for me it isn't. I go out there and I always put my best foot forward. I try to do as best as I could possibly do, and once I know that I go there on the line and I put it all out there regardless of the result, I know that Jerome, today this is the best we had to give, and this was it. I'm okay with it, and my family is okay with it, and it doesn't matter to me. So for me, to answer your question, it isn't no pressure.
Let's talk a little bit about your spirituality, because I hear you mentioning, you know, God a lot, right? And before, I would always think that Jerome would always make mention and thank God because it's probably the right thing to do. But over the years, I've realized that it's more than that. I realized that Jerome has a personal relationship with God. It's more than just saying, I thank God for, you know, being healthy, whatever. Talk about the importance of that relationship, that's the spirituality side of your life.
In terms of the spirituality side, I mean, I grew up in church. My mother basically would take me to church every Sunday with her. And I remember before I went to university, she would have told me, you know, I want you to get baptized before you go to school. You're going to be there on your own. And, you know, so I started to go converse class and stuff. And, you know, eventually I would have gotten baptized. But from a young age, I've always had a relationship with God. Small side story, I just remember one time I lost my phone in a car, and by the time I realized, the car was already gone. And
Trinidad here?
Yeah, in Trinidad here. Right. This was when I was younger, in I just started secondary school. Right. And I'd worked really hard to, you know, earn that phone. I'd save money. I'd asked my mom to, you know, help me to pay for the phone. And when I finally got it, I ended up losing it after like a week or two, and I was devastated. Car had already gone. And, you know, I went down on my knees and I prayed, and I was like, you know what, Lord, you know, I was a little bit reckless with this, but please, I'm going to just get back this phone. I knew how hard I worked, you know, towards it. And some people might believe in God, some might not, but I truly believe in God. And not too long after, the driver came back and said, well, you know, young man, I dropped you back here, and, you know, you left your phone in the car. And he had other people in the car while he dropped me off, so I was like, maybe somebody might see it, pick it up, and didn't say nothing. So I think, you know, God has worked a lot in my life, from a youth to now. The things that I would have prayed for as a young athlete to where I'm at today, these were all things and conversations I would have had with God, you know. And the reason why I'm thankful is because I don't want to be ungrateful. I appreciate each and everything that God has done for me, each and every blessing that I have been blessed with, and I have to acknowledge the fact that He has given me the talent to do what I'm doing today. You know, I don't want to be that person that God bless you and you get so caught up in the blessing you forgot that it's God who bless you with it. Sometimes as human beings we tend to, because when things going really good in our life, you tend to not pray that much anymore because everything going good. But I basically kind of force myself and make it a default to that. In the highs, praise God. In the lows, praise God. Never lose your faith and never lose that humility and gratitude for God, because He would bring you through any storm, but He would also bless you immensely once you trust in Him and have faith within Him.
Yeah, I mean, that is really, really, really good to hear, because a lot of people, a lot of athletes in particular, I mean, we always see the glitz and the glamour, and the glamorous lifestyle they live. Not all, but a lot of them always would make mention, say, yo, thank you very much for God. Then my parents, they'll always make mention of God first, right? And I think it's very important that even the younger athletes now that's coming up understand that it's not just a thing to see. Is something to, you know, really tap into and develop that relationship with Him.